up, you guys? It's SaraStyles, and in today's video, I'm doing something different from anything that I've done on my channel before, and I'm going to be telling you the crazy story time of the time that my Uber driver pulled a gun on me. Yeah, you heard me right. Well, he didn't exactly pull a gun on me, but he pulled out a gun. Let me explain. This story happened about a year ago, and me and my friends were on a trip for one of my friends' 18th birthday, and we rented an Airbnb. I just got off the phone with my two friends that were there for this experience, and I wrote down a bunch of notes about everything that happened, so I have it all right here because so much craziness happened that I don't want to forget anything. But yeah, I'm really excited to do a story time on this channel because I haven't done one before and I love watching story times. So I'm gonna be kind of concealing the identities of my friends that were in this story, just, because people are crazy. My friend whose birthday it was, I'm gonna name her Jessica. Okay, so it was my friend Jessica's birthday. Her friend Vanessa also came. And then our other friend Callie and her boyfriend, we'll call him Joseph, came too. So it was 5 of us that all went. We went to Chattanooga, Tennessee. The plan was just to have a cute little weekend and to hang out, celebrate her birthday. And it was cool to have an Airbnb. We, cooked our own dinner and we were just hanging out. So where this story all begins is that one night we were in our Airbnb and we were bored and we decided that we wanted to go do something. We'd been sitting in this house for a while and it was Jessica's birthday. It's so funny because she doesn't look like a Jessica at all. And we decided that we wanted to go downtown and kind of explore the city and just hang out and do something. So Callie and Joseph actually stayed behind at the house because Callie had gotten sick. So Callie and Joseph stayed back at the house, and me, Jessica, and Vanessa decided to get an Uber to go downtown. I'm pretty sure we ended up going to this restaurant and we got some dinner there. So we were really bored, and this was a year ago. Like, I was single, we were all single. So I decided to get on Tinder and just see if we could meet up with anyone. I was not, okay, this sounds bad, but I wasn't gonna do anything with anybody. We just thought it would be funny to get on Tinder and see what guys were in our area. I ended up matching with this guy and he called me and he wanted to meet up with me at this bridge. And we were at first kind of sketched out, but we were just kind of what the heck? We'll just go meet these guys. It's in a public place. It's not sketchy. It's fine. We were just being young and stupid and having fun. We called an Uber. This is where this story starts to get crazy. This guy named Daniel picked us up. I'm not going to conceal his name because I just don't even know him. So he picked us up at this restaurant, and the plan was for him to take us to the bridge so that we could meet these 2 other guys that we had met on Tinder. He was a really nice guy. He seemed to be in his early 20s. He was young and cool. He had a bunch of tattoos. He was just a really interesting guy, and he was really friendly right off the bat, and we noticed that. My friend Vanessa was sitting in the front seat with Daniel, and then me and Jessica were sitting in the back seat. He takes us to this bridge, and the guy from Tinder is calling me, and we kind of chicken out, and we're okay, this is actually kind of weird. Now that we're here, we realize that it's weird to just be meeting these random guys, and what are we even gonna do? Just get out and talk to them? They're obviously gonna try something. That's dumb. At that point, Daniel decided to say, listen, you guys don't need to be meeting up with these guys. That's dangerous. Even though I don't know you, I want to watch out for you and make sure that you don't get in trouble. So he kind of started using these tactics, and he was being really friendly with us. And he was like, you know what, how about I just turn off the Uber thing, I'll turn off the ride and we'll just drive around. So we didn't really think anything of it, but I've since learned you should never let your Uber driver turn off your trip, because at that point, that ride is not recorded. So if you have it on, then they know where you are, they have your location, and they can keep track of everything. But if not, then it's just kind of you're automatically in this car with this stranger, and now it has nothing to do with Uber. But anyway, at that point, we just didn't think about it, and that's going to be a common theme, is just we just let things slide when we really shouldn't have. So some things in this story are going to get kind of serious. I'm going to go ahead and forewarn you. And looking back at it, you can kind of laugh and just think about how crazy it was, but really it was such a learning experience for me. When I think about it now, I get really, really scared because this could have ended so badly. I'm not even kidding. I'm happy to be alive after going through all of this. I know that sounds dramatic. Really bad things could have happened. That was just to preface that I want this to be a learning experience for you guys. He decides to turn off the Uber route, and he's like, okay, so I have this really cool place that I want to take you guys to. I'm pretty sure at this point it was like midnight, or I don't remember. It was later in the night. I have nothing else to do. Like, I was gonna stop working anyway, so I'll just drive you around. You know, he was young. He was not that much older than us, and he was cool and he was nice, and so we were just, I don't know, we were just kind of trusting. So he takes us up this mountain. The plan is to go to this cool spot where it's up on the mountain and you can see the whole city. At first I was kind of sketched out because I was like, okay, this random Uber driver who we paid just to take us to the bridge, and then we were going to meet those guys. First stupid thing. And we're not being charged for this ride. So now we're just in the car with this random guy. As we're driving, my friend Vanessa, who's the one sitting in the front seat, goes, so like, how do we know that you're not gonna take us up here and like kill us? And he proceeds to pull out a gun. Yep, he pulls out a gun. Thankfully, he immediately unloaded it, thank God, and handed the unloaded gun to Vanessa. And I don't have much experience with guns. My friend Jessica was like, well, it's just a gun. Yeah, it's fine. Like, I know about guns. Me, I was like, oh my God, this is where I die. This is how I get murdered. It kind of got real at that point when he pulled out the gun. Yes, he did unload it and give it to Vanessa, but he still had that gun in his car. And up until then, you know, we were going to this sketchy location with this guy that had a gun in his car that could have just gotten out and shot us. Vanessa takes the gun and she's just kind of looking at it, and at some point, like, she handed it back to Jessica and she was looking at it, and at that point me and Jessica kind of looked at each other and we were like, what the heck did we get ourselves into? So then we get to the top of the mountain and we get out and we look at the city and whatever. As I was just talking to my friend Jessica, she told me that when we got out of the car and we're looking at the city, he like kind of touched her butt, and she kind of brushed it off just thinking it was like an accident, but it kind of presents some foreshadowing. So that was just kind of a weird thing that I didn't know before that she told me. Daniel goes, I'm gonna run back to the car real quick. I forgot my phone. So he runs back up the hill to the car, and the three of us were like, oh my God. So this is like the first moment that we had actually gotten to talk to each other with him not around. We were like, what if he just goes up there and like leaves us on the top of this hill? He very well could have just gone back up there, gone to his car, reloaded his gun, and murdered us. Like, that's a possibility. We did not know him. I mean, just because he was an Uber driver doesn't mean that he didn't have the capability to hurt innocent people. He got his phone. We looked, I think we took some pictures or something. We were done with that. We got back in the car and we start heading back down the mountain and going back kind of towards the city. We had to use the restroom. So we asked him, like, could we stop at a gas station really quick? Like, we need to go to the bathroom. So we find this gas station and we park and we're about to go in. Daniel hands Vanessa a knife and says, be safe. Not only did he have a gun in the car this whole time, but he had a knife, and like a big knife, and felt like he could just hand it to her when she went into the gas station. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but the reason he gave for having the gun was that someone had tried to rob him a couple weeks ago, and so he wanted to have the gun as like self-defense, which totally makes sense. Like, you know, there's obviously a lot of different beliefs about gun laws and all that kind of thing, and for some people it's really normal for them to have a gun just as self-defense and are really responsible with it. The fact that we didn't know him and he had a gun, and that we were in the car with him where he controlled everything, he could have just taken us anywhere. Like, we were at his mercy. That's the part that freaks me out. Me, Vanessa, and Jessica go inside to go to the bathroom, and at some point he ends up coming into that gas station as well, and he buys like a case of beer, and he bought like a bunch of different just like junk snacks, Rice Krispie treats and cookies and just a bunch of stuff. And we get back in the car, and I guess Vanessa handed back the knife to him. I actually don't really remember. Well, first of all, he offered to buy us beer. I mean, that's just kind of weird for an Uber driver to like offer you alcohol, and it was kind of weird for him to buy alcohol himself while he was driving us. Then again, the ride wasn't even like an Uber ride anymore. He offered us beer knowing that like we were under 21. He had bought all those snacks, and he turns around and looks at me and like hands me all the snacks, and he's like, here you go, like I bought these for you. And I remember saying something like, oh well, I'll just eat this one, and he was like, no, like you need to eat all of them. And I was like, I shouldn't, like I'll just like eat one of them, like y'all can have some. And he was like, what, are you trying to like watch your figure or something? And it was just the weirdest thing, like that he would try to make me eat all of them. And I don't know if he was offended that like he had bought these snacks for me and he wanted me to eat all of them. He kept making comments about my weight, and not that I was like overweight, but like, oh, are you trying to watch your figure? Like, why should you care? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It was just really, really strange. At that point, we were like, okay, let's just go back to the Airbnb. We told him the address to our Airbnb. And now that I think about that, like, since all this sketchy stuff had happened, now we had given him the address to where we were staying. And like, it was an Airbnb, like it wasn't where we lived permanently, but now that I think about it, I wish that we had kind of like told him to take us somewhere and then gotten another Uber or been close enough that we could walk. Anyway, so he takes us back to the house that we're staying in. Us three girls were talking about what we're gonna do when we get back. Jessica brings up the idea to watch the movie Prometheus when we get back. So we're talking just amongst ourselves, and Daniel kind of interjects and is like, oh, Prometheus, like I love that movie. And it's obvious that he's trying to invite himself in when we get back. All of that craziness had happened. He'd taken us to this really weird location. He'd pulled out a gun. He'd pulled out a knife. He had bought beer and offered us beer. And the weird thing about the candy, and I was thinking like, oh my God, did he like try to put stuff in here to drug me, and that's why he wanted to eat it all? But I don't know how he could have done that. Like, it was still all in the packaging. I don't know. I still can't figure out that part. When we get back home, we don't even really remember how, but he ended up coming in to our house. Obviously, we had the intention that he would take us back and we would go in and he would leave. Obviously, that's his job. Somehow he finessed his way into coming inside, and it started with the mention of the movie Prometheus. So we go inside, and Callie and Joseph were still there because they hadn't experienced all of this. So they still didn't know what was going on. I'm sure we would have like texted them and kind of given them the gist of like that something was weird. But they ended up coming downstairs, and this random guy is just in the house. Or maybe Callie stayed upstairs and just Joseph came downstairs, and he was like, oh, hey, like, who are you, basically. We ended up all sitting on the couch and watching this movie, and it was like Joseph and Daniel were kind of like vibing, like they were broing out. And right when we got back, Daniel started drinking. That meant that he planned on staying a while, because I hope he wouldn't drink and drive. We're sitting on the couch and watching this movie, and I just got to a point where I was just sketched out, and I was like, I do not want to be around him anymore. I feel so uncomfortable. I don't even want to look at him or be in his presence. I told him, I was like, I'm gonna go upstairs and go to bed. Like, I mean, it was pretty early in the morning at this point. These next details I didn't really know because we kind of talked about it after, but this is where it gets kind of really messed up. I don't want to give too many details on what actually happened because it's a little bit explicit, but this part just really makes me mad because he did this to my friends, and that's just really not okay. I had gone upstairs, and at this point it was Jessica, Daniel, and Vanessa all sitting on one end of the couch, and then Callie had come downstairs because she had started feeling better, and her and Joseph were sitting at the other end of the couch. And Daniel asks Joseph, like, hey, do y'all have a blanket in here? Like, I'm getting kind of cold. Joseph was like, okay, like, yeah, here's this blanket. He doesn't put it just over himself. He puts it over Jessica, himself, and Vanessa. So if you see kind of where this is going, they were all kind of like covered under this blanket. He started to get really inappropriate and getting really handsy. I think that Jessica and Vanessa were just so like shocked about what was happening. And like, it was dark and they were watching this movie. And anyway, I think we were just all so shaken up about what had happened that when he started being inappropriate and touching them in ways that he shouldn't have, like, that's when Vanessa decided, okay, I'm done with this. Like, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go to bed. So that just left Callie, Joseph, Jessica, and Daniel. Daniel proceeded to be inappropriate with Jessica and just touching her in ways that she didn't want to be touched. And Jessica, Callie, and Joseph decided to go upstairs and go to bed. And the funny thing is, so like Callie and Joseph obviously dated and they had one room, and then the three of us girls were going to sleep in another room. When Vanessa had come upstairs, she came in my room and got in bed and locked the door because she was so scared of Daniel downstairs. But that locked Jessica out of our room. So she ended up sleeping with Callie and Joseph, which is funny. But anyway, so they all go upstairs, and Jessica realizes that she left her phone downstairs. And Daniel, he hadn't tried to come upstairs where we all were. He'd stayed. She went back downstairs to get her phone, and she was just like, oh, hey, like, I just left my phone down here. I'm about to go to bed. And he was like, okay, well, like, can I get a hug first? And she was just kind of like, at that point, she was kind of afraid of rejecting him, like that she might make him mad and he might do something. So she hugged him, and then as they pulled away, he ended up kissing her like on the lips, like obviously without her wanting to do that. Anyway, she ended up going back upstairs and was just like, what the heck? I don't think that they got very much sleep, but like me and Vanessa were like dead asleep and had the door locked, so we were like sleeping soundly. So Daniel was still downstairs, and Callie and Jessica noticed that at like 3 in the morning they heard a lot of noise downstairs, and they were like, what the heck is he doing? Joseph like went downstairs to check it out, and Daniel was cleaning up the kitchen. We had made dinner ourselves, and like we made Jessica a birthday cake, and we hadn't cleaned up yet, so there was like a bunch of dishes and just stuff all in the kitchen. And he was like hand washing all of the dishes and putting everything away at 3 in the morning. Joseph was really confused, like, well, okay. And then just went up and went back to bed. So Jessica told me that in the middle of the night, the 3 of them in their room had been like planning of how to escape if he tried to come upstairs, or like if he had his gun or whatever. And they had a balcony attached to their rooms. So like they were like, okay, we're gonna go stand out on this balcony. There's a bush that we can safely jump on, and we can like run around the back and get to our car. And I was like, well, what about like me and Vanessa? And she was like, well, y'all, like, we're in your room with your door locked, like, you're fine. But the next morning we got up, and I came downstairs, and I kind of like automatically remembered everything that had happened the night before, and I was like, what the heck? And when we got back downstairs, he was still there, but he was like sitting on the couch, and I just remember he like thanked us for letting him stay there for the night and ended up leaving. That's pretty much the end of the story. In review, I'm very suspicious about taking an Uber now, because like even if we'd been paying for that ride and our location was being tracked, like he still had a gun, he still had a knife, and you know, the Second Amendment, you have the right to carry a gun. Just the fact that we were in his car and he had control over the vehicle and he had the weapons with him. I mean, he could have put a gun to our head and tried to make us do anything, not just kill us, but he could have, you know, I don't even want to think about the things that he possibly could have done to us, taken us to that remote location and turned the location off, and then came into our house and slept there. And I'm just so thankful that nothing else happened to us. I feel so bad for my friends that he got inappropriate with them, and obviously that's just so not okay. But I hope you guys can take this as a learning lesson. Don't be stupid like we were. Be aware of your surroundings at all times, and if you're suspicious about something, if you have a weird feeling, pay attention to that and get out of the situation. Don't be afraid that you're going to offend anybody or that it's going to be awkward. Stuff like this does happen. This could have gone really wrong, and I'm so glad that it didn't. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoy watching story times. I hope that you guys like this so that I can end up telling more on this channel. Please let me know down below what you think of this story and what you think of like the safety of Uber in general. After that crazy story, I'm like, oh my god. Hope you guys enjoyed the story. I know that it was a lot and that it was really crazy. Thank you for watching today's video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you want me to tell more story time, I have a few I can think of that are pretty crazy. But anyway, I hope SaraStyles made you smile, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!
If the sun don't shine today,